I don't drive at night anymore if I can help it. If I do, I don't take back highways, and I definitely don't mess with that stretch between Austin and Eureka, Nevada. People like to call US Route 50 the loneliest road in America, like it's a cute tourist slogan. They put it on t-shirts and coffee mugs like emptiness is an attraction. But loneliness isn't the worst thing on that road. Sometimes it remembers. I was 26, moving from Sacramento to Denver for a new job. My little silver Subaru was crammed with everything I hadn't sold or donated. Clothes, a couple boxes of books, my guitar, and a laundry basket full of random kitchen stuff wedged in the back seat. My cousin Katie offered to ride with me as far as Colorado and fly back. She had a break between semesters and thought a desert road trip sounded aesthetic. Her words, we left Sacramento early, cut across to Fallon, and picked up US 50 from there. The plan was simple. Fallon, Austin, Eureka, Ely, then overnight in Ely. It was June, plenty of daylight, clear weather. Couldn't have asked for an easier drive. By the time we rolled into Austin, the sun was getting low, turning the hills gold. Austin's one of those old mining towns clinging to the side of a mountain. A strip of motels, cafes, and brick buildings that look like they've been sun-faded since the 1800s. We stopped for gas on the east side of town at a little station that looked more like a shack someone stapled pumps onto. One pickup at another pump, otherwise empty. I got out to fill up. Katie went inside for snacks. As I was finishing, the guy from the pickup started talking to me. Mid-50s, sun-beaten face, ball cap with a cattle ranch logo on it. "Headed east?" he asked, nodding at my California plates. "Yeah, trying to hit Ely tonight." He whistled softly. "Long stretch. You'll be out there after dark." "It's only, what, 70 miles to Eureka?" I said. "Then another 80-ish to Ely. We should be fine." He looked past me, toward the east, where the road threaded into the hills. Road does weird things out there at night. I tried to laugh it off. "Like deer jumping out? I can handle deer." He shook his head once, slow. Deer'd be the least of it. Before I could ask what he meant, the pump clicked off. He tipped 2 fingers off his hat. "Stay between the mile markers. Don't chase any lights. And if you see more miles than you should, keep going. Don't stop for nobody." Then he got in his truck and left. Katie came out a minute later with chips and a huge iced coffee. "Guy in there says we're crazy for driving to Ely tonight," she said. "Apparently everyone stops in Eureka." "Some rancher just told me the road does weird things," I said, rolling my eyes as I slid behind the wheel. "Locals and their ghost stories." "If we die, I'm haunting you," she said, and tossed me a granola bar. We left Austin as the sun dropped behind us, spreading this long copper light over the basins and ranges. Out there, the highway rises over summit after summit, then drops into broad, empty valleys that look copied and pasted from each other. For a while, it was beautiful. Pink sky, distant mountains turning purple, our headlights stretching into the dim. We passed the sign, Eureka 70. "See?" I told Katie. "Easy. Hour and a half. Tops." She had her feet on the dash, scrolling on her phone. "No service," she said. "If we die, no one's even gonna see my last post." "Stop saying if we die." "Fine. When we die," she said, grinning. The last of the light bled away, and the world shrank down to what fell inside our headlights. 2 narrow lanes of asphalt, faded white lines, the jagged silhouettes of hills. Every now and then, a reflective marker flicked by, or a battered green mile sign. Mile 22, mile 23, mile 24. Katie messed with my playlist, finally landing on some ambient stuff that made the whole drive feel cinematic and a little unreal. We hadn't passed another car since leaving Austin. No ranch lights, no houses, just the road, the dark, and that feeling that we were the last people awake in the world. About half an hour in, I saw something ahead, faint, red, blinking. Hazard lights. Finally, another car, I said. We're not the only idiots out here. Katie sat up. Where? Up there. I nodded toward the distant flashes. We drove. The hazard lights stayed exactly the same distance away. Same brightness, same rhythm, like we were locked in place relative to them. Are you getting any closer? Katie asked, after a few minutes. I think so. I pressed the gas a little more. The Subaru hummed. The speedometer climbed. The red flashes didn't grow. I glanced at the odometer. We'd already gone more than 40 miles since Austin. Didn't feel like it. Check the map, I said. No service, she repeated, but open the map app anyway. It showed our little blue arrow drifting off into nothingness, surrounded by beige emptiness. No road under it, no labels. Just gray grid lines and a spinning loading icon. Cool, she muttered. We've officially fallen off the earth. The music cut out mid-track, replaced by static. Then the navigation voice, even though we weren't running directions, spoke up, flat and toneless. Accident reported ahead, it said. Use caution. I swallowed. Okay, that's weird. Is it using offline data? Katie asked. Can it do that? Before I could answer, the static on the stereo shifted. I heard fragments through the hiss. Eastbound, US 50 near mile marker. Vehicle rolled. Both occupants. The voice was thin, tinny, like it was coming from a distant radio station, barely clinging to life. Katie reached for the dial. Don't touch it, I said, louder than I meant to. Dude, relax! The voice crackled again. 2 fatalities confirmed. Next of kin, Sacramento, California. My hands tightened on the wheel. Sacramento. I told myself it was a coincidence. What mile marker are we at? Katie asked quietly. As if summoned by her question, a sign flashed by in the dark. Mile 22. I frowned. That's wrong. We passed 22 like 20 minutes ago, she said. I must have read it wrong. 10 minutes later, mile 23. My heart thudded. Okay, no, we definitely passed 23. Katie twisted around in her seat, looking out the back window. Nothing but 2 fading lines of headlights on the asphalt. Did we loop? She asked. Like miss a turn and circle back? There's nowhere to turn, I said. It's just a straight shot. Ahead of us, the hazard lights continued blinking, that same fixed distance away. Time got strange after that. I kept expecting to see the glow of Eureka on the horizon. A truck, a ranch, anything. But it was just the repeating pattern of hills and black sky and those red flashes. I checked the clock. We'd left Austin 2 hours ago. At highway speed, we should have been at least near Eureka by then. The fuel gauge agreed. We'd been driving. The odometer ticked on. But the mile markers, mile 24, mile 25, mile 22. The third time we passed mile 22, Katie whispered, "Okay, I'm officially freaked out." The stereo hissed again. The same thin voice filtered through. "Accident, Subaru, 2 occupants, female mid-20s, female early 20s. "That's us," Katie said, her voice small. "Lots of people drive Subarus," I said automatically, even as my mouth went dry. "From Sacramento?" she pressed. "On this exact stretch? At this exact time?" Outside, the hazard lights pulsed red, steady as a heartbeat. "We should catch up," I said suddenly. "If someone's really crashed, we should help." "Did you not hear the creepy ghost radio just now?" she snapped. "No, that ranch guy literally told us not to stop for anybody." I pressed the gas pedal anyway. The engine whined, and the speedometer crept toward 80. The highway unrolled under our wheels. The hazard lights stayed the same. It was as if the road were stretching between us, always adding just enough distance that we could see the car, but never reach it. Then, without warning, the red flashes vanished. 1 blink, 2, 3, nothing. The darkness ahead swallowed everything. The stereo clicked off completely. No hum, no static. Even the dashboard lights dimmed for a second, then came back. Katie sat rigid, staring into the void. Did they just turn off?" she whispered. "Maybe the car died," I said. "Or maybe there was never a car," she shot back. "Please, let's just go back to Austin. Sleep there. Try again in the morning." "We've already driven like 100 miles, I said, though I wasn't sure anymore. "Have we?" she asked. I checked the odometer. It said we'd gone 138 miles since Fallon, which made no sense. That would have put us past Eureka, closer to Ely. But we hadn't seen a single sign for either town. No exits, no junctions, no nothing. "Okay," I said finally. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. "We'll turn around." I eased the car onto the shoulder, the tires crunching on gravel. As I started a slow U-turn, the headlights swept over the opposite side of the highway. For a split second, I saw another silver Subaru making the same motion, headlights cutting through the dark, turning on the same patch of shoulder. The driver looked exactly like me. We locked eyes. My stomach lurched. Then the beams crossed, and the other car was gone. Just empty road. Katie sucked in a breath. "Did you?" "Yeah," I said. "I did." We sat there in the middle of US 50, my hands frozen on the wheel, the engine idling softly. Far away, the sky briefly brightened. Not town lights, more like a flare reflecting off low clouds. Except there weren't any clouds. Just a faint, cold glow over the horizon. "Pick a direction," Katie said, voice shaking. "Please, just pick one." I pointed the car back west toward Austin and started driving. The mile markers kept coming. Mile 25, mile 24, mile 23. Mile 22. It didn't matter that we'd turned around. It was like the road only had those 4 numbers and was just cycling them endlessly. After what felt like an hour, my eyes started to play tricks on me. Shapes in the scrub started to look like people standing and watching. Fence posts became silhouettes. Reflections in the rearview mirror seemed a half-second behind my movements. We hadn't spoken in a long time when Katie suddenly gripped my arm. "Look," she whispered. Ahead, on the shoulder, a figure in a reflective vest stood by the road, flashlight in hand, waving us down in a slow, controlled motion. I saw the outline of a Nevada Highway Patrol patch on their sleeve. The bright bands of reflective tape. A white SUV with light bars sat behind them, angled toward the lane, its hazards blinking yellow. "See?" I said, forcing relief into my voice. "Trooper, we tell him what's going on. We get help. We get off this road." "The guy in Austin said don't stop," she hissed. "For random cars," I said. "This is a cop. Come on." I slowed and pulled onto the shoulder, rolling down my window as we drew level. The figure stepped into the wash of my headlights. It was a man, maybe late 30s, clean-shaven. His uniform looked off. The cut was older, the patch design slightly different from the ones I'd seen before. The Chevy SUV behind him looked like a model from 15 years ago. He leaned down to my window. I couldn't see his eyes. The brim of his hat cast them in shadow. "Evening," he said. His voice was perfectly normal, calm, professional. "You folks all right?" Maybe," I said. "We're trying to get to Eureka, but..." He shook his head once. "Roads closed ahead." "Because of an accident?" Katie blurted. He tilted his head. "What accident?" "The one the radio mentioned," I said. "Subaru, 2 women from Sacramento?" Something in his jaw tightened. "You must have picked up an old rebroadcast," he said. "This stretch used to get that a lot." "Used to?" I asked. He didn't answer that. "Where are you coming from?" "Austin," I said. "We left like 2-3 hours ago. We should have hit Eureka by now." He glanced at his watch. "Austin's 70 miles behind you." I stared at him. "That's what I'm saying. We should be there already." He straightened up, looked up and down the highway, then back at us. "Listen," he said quietly. "Sometimes, at night, this road doesn't like letting go of things. You understand?" "Not even a little," Katie whispered. He leaned in again, lowering his voice so much I had to strain to hear. "You keep driving. You're going to see more lights. Might see yourself again. Might see folks who never made it to Eureka the first time." He paused. "That broadcast you heard? That crash happened in '92. Then why did it mention Sacramento?" I asked, feeling strangely offended by the idea that an old tragedy was tugging at our lives. "What does that have to do with us?" He nodded at my license plate. "You're not the first California car to get caught a little out of sync out here." The engine idled. The desert night pressed in around us. "So what do we do?" Katie asked. "You turn around," he said. "You don't stop again. Not for lights, not for people, not even if you see me. You go back to Austin, you sleep there, and you leave this stretch for the daytime." I opened my mouth to argue. "Or," he added, "you keep going and see what the road wants to show you." but I wouldn't recommend that option. Silence. Finally, I said, "What about your roadblock? You said the road is closed." He looked over his shoulder at the SUV behind him, like he'd forgotten it was there. "There's no roadblock," he said softly. "Not for you." Then he stepped back, lifted a hand in a vague half salute, and turned away. I glanced at the SUV. For a second, the light pattern looked wrong, too slow, too old-fashioned. Then my headlights shifted, and the whole scene seemed to glitch, like a skipped frame. "Go," Katie whispered. "Please." I put the car in gear and carefully pulled back onto the lane, driving past the trooper. In the mirror, I saw him standing there, watching us. Then the reflectors of his vest blurred into the night. We didn't talk. I turned the car around again at the first faint break in the double yellow line and started the long drive back west. We passed mile 25, mile 24, mile 23, mile 22, again. "Keep going," Katie said every time I slowed, even a little. "Don't stop." At some point, the mile numbers finally changed. Mile 21. I didn't say anything. I was afraid that acknowledging it would break the spell and throw us back into the loop. The stereo crackled once, then came back to life mid-song, like nothing had happened. Phones buzzed with accumulated notifications. A bar of service appeared, then two. After another 15 minutes, the distant glow of Austin appeared, small and warm in the blackness. I have never been so happy to see a handful of motel signs in my life. We pulled into the first motel we saw, a low, L-shaped building with a flickering vacancy sign. The night clerk barely looked up as I checked in, just slid a key card across the counter. "Long night?" he asked. "You have no idea," I said. He shrugged. "Highway gets to people. You're lucky, though. You came back." I froze. "What do you mean?" He tapped a framed newspaper article hanging behind him that I hadn't noticed before. The headline was big and blocky. "2 killed in late-night crash on US 50. The picture beneath it was grainy, black and white. A Subaru wagon lay on its roof in a ditch, its undercarriage crumpled. Firefighters stood nearby. The caption mentioned 2 women from Sacramento, ages 27 and 22, killed instantly when their car left the road between Austin and Eureka in June 1992. Katie came up behind me and read over my shoulder. She didn't say anything, but I felt her hand latch onto my arm, fingers digging into my skin. "Folks still hear the dispatch sometimes," the clerk added, like he was giving directions to the ice machine. "Even see the lights. Road remembers stuff like that. Likes to play it back." He turned the motel guest book toward me. "Sign here." My hand shook as I wrote my name and city. Next to it, Katie wrote hers, Sacramento, California. Later, in the dim motel room with the air conditioner rattling in the window, Katie lay awake in the other bed and said, "If we hadn't turned around when we did, that article could have been about us." "Don't," I said. My voice cracked. "I'm serious. Imagine if that crash is like a groove on a record, and we were just about to drop into it. I stared at the textured ceiling, listening to semi-trucks roar faintly past on the highway. Maybe we already did, I said. Maybe that's why we saw whatever we saw. Maybe we were right on the edge, and something nudged us out. Like that cop, she said. I turned my head. You believe he was real? She thought about it. Real enough. I made it to Denver the next day. I took the long way. I went north at Austin, cut across through Battle Mountain, and picked up the interstate. Added 4 hours to my drive just to avoid that 70-mile stretch between Austin and Eureka. People still ask me why. It looks so harmless on a map. Just another line across the desert. I never know how to explain it without sounding crazy, so I usually just say, it's a long story. But the truth is simple. Some roads are lonelier than others, and some of them don't like being left alone. I've made the drive to Marquette a dozen times. My younger brother, Owen, went to Northern Michigan University, and I'd visit whenever I could. The Upper Peninsula is beautiful in that way quiet places can be. Thick forests, old mining towns, big stretches of nothing. But there's one place I never drive anymore. One road I will never touch again. It's a 25-mile stretch between Shingleton and Seney, called the Seney Stretch, part of M28. If you don't know it, picture a ruler laid across the map, completely straight, no turns, no hills, barely any trees cleared from the edges, nothing but pine, road, and sky. It's the kind of place where speed feels meaningless and time feels fake. And it's where someone decided to follow me. Owen was graduating, and I'd flown to Chicago, rented a car, and driven up through Wisconsin into the UP. The ceremony was great, and after a weekend of celebrating, I started the long drive back. Owen had classes until the afternoon, so I left on my own around 11 a.m. It was early May, the kind of day where the snow is finally gone, but the air still bites a little. Marquette was bright and cheerful when I left it behind. Munising was quiet. Boats lined the shore of Lake Superior, all still covered for winter storage. I stopped for gas at a station on the east side of town. The cashier, a guy maybe in his 40s, with a huge Yooper accent, was friendly, asked if I was headed to the Lower Peninsula. Nope, I said. Chicago. He nodded. Watch yourself on the stretch. It's too straight. Makes people weird. I'll keep that in mind, I said, thinking it was just small talk. I really wish I'd pressed him to explain. The road out of Munising was peaceful, and soon enough, the forest opened into that long, endless straightaway. If you've never driven it, the Seney Stretch is so flat and uniform that you feel like the road could go on forever. No houses, no towns, no billboards, just miles of pine and spruce. The marshy wetlands of the Seney National Wildlife Refuge, stretching out behind the tree line. I set the cruise control, put on a podcast, and settled in. About 10 minutes in, I noticed a car behind me, a dark green SUV. Nothing unusual. The speed limit is 55, and most people do 60 or 65. But what struck me was how perfectly matched their speed was to mine. Every time I nudged up or slowed down a little, the SUV adjusted instantly. Probably just heading the same way, I mumbled to myself. But it kept bothering me. That eerie symmetry. Like whoever was driving wasn't just behind me. They were watching me. I tried to brush it off, and after another mile or two, I realized I hadn't checked my blind spot in a while. I looked. The SUV wasn't there. I did a double take, craning my neck. Nothing behind me for what looked like miles. Just shimmering asphalt. Guess they turned off, I said. Though I knew there were no turnoffs. Not on this stretch, not for many miles. I tried to shake the unease building in my stomach. 20 minutes later, I saw the green SUV again. This time, it wasn't behind me. It was parked on the shoulder up ahead. Driver's side door open. No one visible. As I got closer, I slowed instinctively. The SUV looked old. Mid-2000s maybe, with paint rubbed dull on the sides. Something about seeing it parked there, empty, made my skin prickle. I glanced in the mirror as I passed. The driver appeared out of the trees. A man, maybe 50, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a faded brown jacket. He stepped from the tree line slowly, like he'd been standing there for a long time, waiting. And he looked directly at me. Not at my car, at me. I didn't wave. I didn't stop. My foot pressed the accelerator on instinct. As I pulled away, I glanced back again. The man was now standing beside the SUV, watching me drive. No movement, just watching. I told myself I was overreacting. People break down on highways all the time. People stretch their legs. People wander into the woods to pee. It was nothing, except 5 minutes later, the SUV was behind me again. No turnoffs, no intersections, but headlights appeared in my mirror. Small specks at first, growing, until that same dull green bumper filled the center of my rear view. Okay, I whispered. No way. He hadn't passed me. He hadn't been in front of me, and he hadn't come from a driveway or crossroad. There weren't any. Yet there he was, following again, matching my speed perfectly. Every hair on my arms stood on end. I tested him. I slowed to 45. He slowed. I sped up to 70. He sped up. I tapped my brakes once, sharply. He didn't even flinch, like he expected it. My breath went shallow. Don't panic, I whispered to myself. Just think. But the more I thought, the clearer it was. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't normal. This man knew exactly what he was doing. After nearly 10 miles of this, the road curved. Subtly, barely, but it curved. And at the end of that curve was a small gravel pull-off used for wildlife viewing. Normally, I would have ignored it, but the SUV behind me suddenly swerved onto the shoulder, kicking up dust, then shot forward as if to pass me on the right. Except there wasn't a lane on the right, just grass and gravel. What the? The SUV accelerated alongside me, wheels spitting dirt. His window was down, and the man was looking at me, grinning. A wide, wrong grin that didn't reach his eyes. He jerked the wheel slightly, drifting closer, nudging toward my lane. I screamed and swerved left, the tires skidding. For a moment, my rental fishtailed, but I managed to correct it. The SUV dropped back behind me, and then he honked. One long, sharp blast, then two short ones, like a signal. My hands were shaking. My vision tunneled. There were two choices: keep driving straight and hope he loses interest, or stop at the next populated place, which was still miles away. I chose the third option, something I'd never normally do. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. No signal. Of course, I hissed. The UP is notorious for dead zones. I drove faster now, 75, then 80, despite the emptiness. My heart hammered. Behind me, the green SUV maintained the distance like he'd tied a rope between us. Finally, I saw a sign. Seni. 5 Mile Civilization. I pressed the gas pedal to the floor. The car vibrated. Trees blurred past. My eyes kept flicking between the road ahead and the mirror behind. The SUV was still there, not gaining, not falling behind, just waiting, like he knew something I didn't. As the town's edge came into view, I could have cried with relief. Streetlights, a few buildings, power lines, a big sign for the Seni Party store. I slowed down, ready to whip into the parking lot. That's when the SUV suddenly accelerated, hard. The distance closed in seconds. He was about to ram me. I jerked the wheel and sped into the parking lot, tires screeching. My heart slammed against my ribs. I parked crooked across 2 spaces and jumped out of the car, screaming, "Help! Somebody!" The green SUV barreled toward the entrance of the lot. Then, at the edge of the pavement, it braked so violently the back end fishtailed. But it didn't enter the parking lot. It just sat there, idling, watching. The driver's face was shadowed, but I could feel him looking straight at me. A man from the party store, middle-aged, confused, ran out and asked what was wrong. I pointed at the SUV, babbling incoherently. We both turned to look. The SUV backed up, turned around, and drove away, calmly, casually, like he'd finished what he came for. The store owner called the state police for me. A trooper showed up 20 minutes later, a young guy who took notes and nodded politely. He asked for details, plate number, make, model. I don't know, I stammered. I never saw a plate. I swear it didn't have one. He looked skeptical. They all have plates. Michigan requires it. I'm telling you, it didn't. What was the driver's face like? I tried to explain, but the words came out thin. I don't know, just wrong. Like smiling without smiling. He nodded again. We'll keep an eye out. But his tone said he didn't expect to find anything. And he didn't. No SUV matching the description was ever reported. None pulled over. None caught on highway cameras near Seni or Munising. It was like the man had never existed. I stayed the night in a motel, kept the lights on, barely slept. At dawn, I checked out, grabbed a coffee, and asked the motel clerk, a woman in her 60s, if she'd ever heard of someone harassing drivers on the scenic stretch. She froze, then quietly said, 30 years ago, a man in a dark green SUV was abducting women on that road. He'd tail them until they panicked and swerved. One of them crashed near the refuge and died. I don't know why I said yes. My coworker, Melissa, had asked if I could help her drive a moving truck from Phoenix to Durango. She was relocating for a job, and the rental company wouldn't let her drive the 26-foot box truck alone. I didn't have much going on that weekend, so I agreed. I thought it would be easy, a long drive, some scenery, maybe an overnight somewhere on the way. I didn't expect to nearly die in the Lukachukai mountains, and I didn't expect to see something up there that still keeps me awake at night. We left Phoenix early, getting ahead of the worst heat. Once we passed Flagstaff, the desert gave way to high country pines, and eventually the endless plains around Kayenta. The plan was to cut through Navajo Route 13, wind over the Lukachukai Mountains, drop into Red Valley, and connect to US 191 toward the Four Corners area. It was remote, yes, but not dangerous, at least as we understood it. By late afternoon, the mountains rose ahead of us, streaked with red cliffs and pine forests. The air got colder. Melissa was in the moving truck ahead of me, and I followed in her Subaru so she wouldn't be alone if anything happened to the rental. The sun slipped behind a jagged ridge as we started up the steep ascent, and that was when I noticed the old pickup behind me, an early 90s Ford F-150, primer gray, no plate on the front bumper. It wasn't tailgating, but it was close. Closer than it should have been on a mountain road. I radioed Melissa through her walkie-talkie. The trucks we rented came with them. You see that truck behind me? She checked her mirror. Yeah, been there the last couple miles. Yeah, and he's not backing off. Probably just wants to get around us, she said. We're slow on the climb. Except he didn't try to pass. Not once. He just stayed glued behind my Subaru. Headlights bright, unwavering. We kept climbing. The road narrowed. Guardrails appeared in broken sections, like skeleton ribs arching along the cliffs. A sign flashed past. Lukachukai Mountain Pass. Elevation 8,000 feet. Steep grades, sharp curves. Drive carefully. We drove carefully. The truck behind me didn't. Every time the road curved, his headlights tilted sharply, revealing flashes of his front grille, then slamming back into place behind me. He never slowed. He never got farther away. I gripped the wheel so hard, my knuckles went white. The road gained elevation fast. The sky darkened. The first stars appeared, sharp and cold. The pine trees thickened, standing so close to the road, they felt like an audience watching in silence. Melissa, I radioed again. Yeah, I don't like this. He's matching everything I do. He's probably just impatient. No, he's following too perfectly. She didn't respond to that. We reached one of the highest points in the pass, where the road leveled briefly before descending toward Red Valley. A single pull-off area stood to the right, a gravel overlook with a view of the desert miles below. Melissa slowed the moving truck to a stop there. "What are you doing?" I asked into the radio. "We're gonna let him pass. Get off the road." I wasn't thrilled about stopping, but I agreed. I flicked on my signal and pulled in behind her. The old F-150 rolled past slowly. I watched the driver, or tried to. The cab was too dark. The headlights from my Subaru reflected off the back window of the moving truck, glaring into my eyes. But I saw the driver's silhouette turn toward us as he passed. He didn't wave. He didn't speed up. He didn't even seem curious. He just stared. I felt the temperature in the car drop a few degrees. Melissa got out to stretch, and I followed. The wind was colder than I expected, sharp, carrying the smell of pine sap and dust. Twilight bled red along the horizon. The F-150 continued down the road, brakes squealing faintly on the grade. "Probably nothing," Melissa said, rubbing her arms against the cold. "Probably," I echoed, though I didn't believe it. As she opened the door of the moving truck to climb back in, something caught my eye. Footprints, fresh ones, in the patch of dirt beside the overlook's concrete barrier. At first I thought they were ours, but they went the wrong direction, away from the road, not toward it. And they weren't from hiking boots or work boots like you'd expect out here. They looked like bare feet with deep impressions at the arch, as if whoever made them had been walking on their toes or running, and they led straight toward the tree line. "Melissa," I said quietly, "come look at this." But when she did, she shook her head. Probably some local kids messing around. "Up here? In the mountains? Barefoot?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The unease was settling into both of us. We got back into the vehicles, turning on our headlights as full dark settled in. The sky above was a deep blue, so dark it was almost black. "Okay," Melissa said through the radio. "No more stopping. Let's get down this mountain." We pulled back onto the road. The descent began. Sharp turns, blind corners, steep drop-offs, with only a foot of clearance between the asphalt and empty air. My hands were trembling slightly. The weird footprints were stuck in my mind. So was the F-150 driver. I kept checking my mirror, half expecting him to come flying around the bend behind us. He didn't, but something else happened. At the next curve, the moving truck's brake lights flashed, then flashed again, then stayed on too long. "Melissa?" I radioed. "Everything okay?" Static. Then her voice, strained. "There's someone on the road." "What?" "I swear, I saw a person at the edge of the turn, just standing." "Another driver?" "No, they weren't near a car, just standing in the dark." A chill ran up my spine. "You sure it wasn't a sign or something?" "It moved," she said. I swallowed, hard. A minute later, I saw it too. A figure at the edge of the trees. Tall, thin, barefoot from what I could make out. Skin pale in the headlights. Facing the road. Facing us. "What the hell?" I whispered. As soon as my headlights hit it, the figure stepped back into the darkness between the pines. No startled reaction. No running, just a smooth, quiet retreat. I gripped the radio. "Melissa, I saw," she said. "I don't know what that was, but let's keep going." For the next few miles, the tension twisted tighter. Every other curve seemed to hold another figure just out of full view, always near the trees, always still, always watching. Too tall for children, too thin for adults, and always barefoot. But that wasn't the worst part. The footprints we saw at the overlook, I started noticing more of them, in the dirt pull-offs, along the shoulder, even in patches of dust, right on the asphalt. Bare human feet. No shoe treads, no animal prints, just feet. Always facing downhill, always pointing the direction we were traveling, like something was following the road too, or guiding us, or hurting us. Halfway down the pass, Melissa's voice crackled through the radio again. "He's back." My stomach dropped. "The truck?" I asked. "Yes, the F-150. He's behind you now." I checked my mirror. Headlights. Bright. Too bright. The F-150 was tailing me again. "No," I said under my breath. "No way. He should have been miles ahead by now." "I don't know how he got behind you," Melissa said, panic creeping into her tone. "But he's there." I honked once. The truck honked back. 3 times. Long, short, short. The same pattern as before. "Faster," Melissa said. "Go faster." The descent got steeper, forcing me to ride the brakes just to keep control. The smell of hot metal filled the car. The old truck stayed, only a few yards behind me. His headlights were so close, they washed out my mirrors in white glare. "Melissa," I said, "we're gonna have to stop. This is too much. He's trying to push me down the mountain." "No stopping," she snapped. "If you stop, he'll get you. Keep moving, almost to Red Valley." She was right. Stopping meant dying, one way or another. Then something impossible happened. A figure stepped onto the road. Not from the trees, from the rocks on the cliffside of the road. Barefoot, pale, too tall. It stepped directly into the path of Melissa's moving truck. She screamed. Her brakes shrieked. The truck skidded sideways. But the figure didn't react. It didn't even flinch. It just stood there as the truck passed directly through it. Not around it. Through it. The headlights didn't cast a shadow on it. The reflection didn't change. It was like it wasn't even solid. Melissa's truck fishtailed, then regained traction. I nearly hit her. "Did you see that?" she yelled into the radio. I don't know what I saw," I stammered. Behind me, the F-150 honked again. Long, short, short, as if the driver approved. Finally, the road widened as we hit the base of the mountains. Signs for Red Valley flashed past. The desert opened back up. Moonlight spilled across the land. And just like that, the truck behind me was gone. No turnoff, no dust, no engine noise, no brake lights fading into the distance. Just gone. I slowed. Melissa slowed. We both pulled into the gravel lot of the Red Valley chapter house, shaking uncontrollably. We stayed there for nearly half an hour before we could talk. "What the hell happened up there?" she finally whispered. "I think someone was following us," I said. And the people? The barefoot things? I nodded. She swallowed hard. I think they weren't after us. What? I think they were trying to warn us. We made it to Durango by midnight, both too shaken to speak much. Melissa later told me she'd seen one of the pale figures on the roof of the moving truck when she passed one of the overlooks. Standing perfectly still, watching. She didn't tell me at the time because she didn't want me to panic. I'm glad she didn't. I would have driven off the mountain. A week later, I was back home in Phoenix. I looked up reports of accidents on Navajo Route 13. Old ones. Turns out, in the late 90s, a man driving a gray F-150 caused a fatal crash near the Lukachukai Pass. A moving truck and the car behind it went over the edge after he tailgated them on the descent. Both drivers were killed. The man in the F-150 vanished afterward, never found. Locals still talk about him. They say sometimes he drives the pass at night, looking for someone else to chase into the cliffs. And sometimes, if he's near, something else comes out of the trees, not to hurt you, to warn you, to keep you from going over the edge like the others, to keep you alive. I don't know what those pale figures were. I don't know if they saved us. I only know this: some people haunt the roads they died on, and some aren't people at all. I've always hated driving at night, but I especially hate driving at night in Maine. Most of the state is forest. Not the friendly, hiking trail kind, the endless kind, where trees crowd so close to the road that you sometimes can't tell where the forest begins and where the shadows end. I had a reason for being out there, though. My aunt in Machias had fallen and broken her hip. I was the closest family, living down in Portland, so I'd packed a bag and made the 4-hour drive as soon as I got the call. I didn't plan on taking Route 9, also called the Airline Road, but GPS said it was the fastest way. Locals will tell you it's one of the most desolate stretches of highway in New England. No towns, no gas for miles, barely any cell signal. I figured I'd be fine. I'd driven worse roads before. I was wrong. It was around 8:45 p.m. when I started the long stretch east from Bangor. The sky had that deep bluish tint before true night settles in. My high beams lit up the white lines and little else. Every several miles, a driveway would appear. A long gravel path disappearing into darkness. Old mailboxes. No houses visible. The kinds of places where if someone screamed, no one would hear. I had 2.5 hours left to go. About 40 minutes into the drive, I passed something that made me sit up straighter. A house. A real house. A 2-story place set back far from the road, with a porch and a detached garage. It sat in a clearing that looked recently cut. Raw tree stumps poking out of the grass. But what caught my eye wasn't the house itself. It was the bright yellow bulb glowing above the front door. Warm. Inviting, out of place in the middle of nowhere, and standing under that light, barely visible, was a man. He didn't wave, he didn't move, just watched my car pass as if he'd been waiting. I tried to shake it off. People live out here. It's not impossible. But it felt wrong. The house looked new. Too new. The clearing was too fresh. The porch too clean. Not a single tire rut in the dirt driveway. No footprints. No signs of habitation. And that man had stood too still. Another 15 minutes passed, and I saw something else unusual. Another house. This one farther back, nearly swallowed by trees. Old, sagging porch, curtains drawn, no lights, which would have been completely forgettable, except a yellow porch light flicked on as I approached, fast, almost like someone flipped it the instant they heard my engine. The sudden glow caught my attention. So did the figure beneath it. A man. Different clothes, different build, but the same posture. Standing still, facing the road, watching me pass. I felt my pulse quicken. Maine is rural, sure. People value their privacy. But two houses miles apart, both turning on the exact same overhead yellow porch light as I approached, and both with men standing under them, that wasn't normal. I checked my phone. No signal. Of course. The forest crept closer. Branches hung low over the asphalt, like skeletal fingers reaching out. My headlights bounced off trunks and vanished into pure black. I tried to focus on the driving. Then, roughly 10 minutes later, I saw something that made my skin crawl. A third house, same style as the first one. 2 stories, fresh clearing, gravel driveway untouched, yellow light glowing above the porch. But this time, there were 2 figures standing beneath it. Men, side by side, watching the road, watching me. They didn't wave. They didn't blink. They didn't seem surprised by my presence at all. It was as if they were expecting me. I pressed the gas pedal harder. Then the pattern broke. At a bend in the road, where trees arched like a tunnel, I saw a 4th light in the distance, another yellow glow. But as I got closer, I realized something. There was no house this time. The light wasn't above a porch. It was up high, maybe 20 feet, hanging from a pole. An old wooden utility pole, leaning slightly, with a single yellow bulb strung from a wire. Underneath it, in the dirt, stood another man. Same posture, same stillness, but this one held something in his hand. At first, I thought it was a flashlight. Then, I saw the shape. A crowbar. He lifted his head, just enough for the light to catch his face. Expressionless. Eyes fixed on me. I drove faster. The trees whipped past. The road hummed under my tires. My breaths came shallow. Something was deeply, unmistakably wrong. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't just locals being weird. This was a pattern, a deliberate one. The next 15 miles were a blur. Every mile or so, another yellow light. On a house, on a garage, on a shed, on a pole, even once on a rusted RV parked in a clearing. and beneath every one of them, a man. Different heights, different builds, different clothes, but all standing in the exact same way. Feet slightly apart, arms hanging loosely at their sides, faces turned toward the road, watching quietly, patiently. Not one raised a hand. Not one stepped forward. Not one reacted to my headlights or engine. They just existed in silence, always illuminated by that unnatural yellow glow. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I whispered to myself, "Stop looking. Stop looking. Focus on the road. Ignore the houses. Ignore the people. They couldn't hurt me unless I stopped. Right?" I kept telling myself that, until I realized something even worse. None of those houses, absolutely none, had appeared on my drive earlier, and I would have noticed. Route 9 is linear, predictable, quiet, repetitive. I remembered the rock formations, the mailboxes, the bogs. There had been no new clearings, no fresh driveways, no two-story homes. But I had driven at least 25 miles by now, and the houses kept appearing out of nowhere, as if the road was changing behind me, as if the lights weren't marking locations. They were marking me. Then my car sputtered. A chug, a lurch. I looked at the dashboard, the fuel gauge, below E. I swore aloud. I had filled the tank before leaving Bangor. No way I'd burned this much gas. But whether it made sense or not, the engine was losing power. I scanned ahead frantically, every muscle tight. A sign emerged from the dark. Springfield, 3 miles. Okay, a town, civilization. I could make it. I had to make it. The car sputtered again, more violently this time. Then the headlights flickered. "No, no, no, don't you do this to me," I whispered. The trees closed around me one last time. And then a house appeared on the right. Fresh clearing, bright yellow porch light, 2-story home. But this time, 5 men stood beneath the light. They weren't watching the road. They were watching me. And one of them stepped forward. Just one step. Enough to let me know they hadn't been statues after all. My car stalled. Completely. No engine, no lights, no radio. Just dead silence and the sound of the wind hissing through the trees. The yellow-lit house was about 50 yards behind me now. But in the mirror, I saw the men starting to move. Slowly, deliberately, toward the road, toward me. I scrambled for my phone. One bar. One miraculous, beautiful bar of signal. I dialed 911. The call failed. I ran shaking fingers along the steering wheel, trying the ignition again. Click, click, nothing. Behind me, the men stepped onto Route 9. I could hear them now, crunching gravel, feet dragging slightly, not rushing, not yelling, like they knew I wasn't going anywhere. My vision blurred with tears. I tried the ignition one last time. The engine roared to life. I slammed the gas. The car lurched forward, fishtailing, tires screaming. The yellow light faded behind me. The men disappeared into darkness. I didn't look back again. 20 minutes later, I reached Springfield, pulled into a gas station lit with bright, White LEDs, the normal kind. A woman at the counter stared as I stumbled inside, shaking so badly I could barely speak. She asked if I was okay. I wasn't. I told her bits and pieces, the houses, the yellow lights, the men. Her expression changed instantly. Not disbelief, not confusion, recognition. "You saw them?" she whispered. I froze. "You know about those people?" She glanced toward the windows, lowered her voice. "Anyone who drives the airline at night has a chance. My brother saw them once. He said he counted 17, always under those old sodium yellow lights. Always men, never women, never kids." "What are they?" I asked, the words trembling. She swallowed. "No one knows. But don't ever stop for them. Don't ever approach. And don't ever look at them too long." "Why not?" She shook her head. "Because some people who stop never reach the next town." I made it safely to Machias, though I kept checking my mirror for the rest of the drive. In the daylight, Route 9 looked harmless. A little lonely, but harmless. Auntie thought I was exhausted and overreacting when I arrived. But later, when I drove her to physical therapy, she said something that chilled me. "You didn't take Route 9 at night, did you?" Her voice was tight, afraid. I didn't answer. She nodded slowly. "That road takes notice of people sometimes," she said. "And when it does, it doesn't let go easily." I drove back to Portland a week later, in broad daylight, with the gas tank full, with a spare canister in the trunk, with a map on my lap in case my phone failed again. And even then, even in the bright sunshine, I saw one thing that made my blood run cold. A clearing. Fresh. New. Dirt still torn up from tree removal. And in the center of the clearing, the skeletal frame of a 2-story house being built, with a porch, and a brand new metal bracket installed above the front door. The kind that holds a light bulb, a yellow one, waiting.